Hi everyone, welcome back to AWS Daily Series Day 3. And in this video, we are going to learn about Amazon VPC. So, first of all, what exactly is Amazon VPC? VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. In simple words, Amazon VPC allows us to create our own private network inside AWS. Now, you may ask, why do we even need a private network in the cloud? Let's understand this with a real time example. Suppose a company hosts its application in AWS. Okay, the web application should be accessible to users through the internet, and the database should not be directly exposed to the public for security reasons. So, what companies do is they create a private network using Amazon VPC. Inside that VPC, the web server is placed in a public subnet and the database is placed in a private subnet. Okay, so this helps the companies to securely control how traffic flow inside their AWS environment. Okay, now let's understand how it works. Suppose a user opens an application. First, the request comes through the internet. Then it reaches something called an internet gateway. Okay, after that, the traffic enters the VPC network. Inside the VPC network, AWS routes a request to resources like EC2 instances, databases, or other AWS services. So, in a simple way, users sends a request to the internet, the request enters the VPC, and then AWS securely routes it to the required resource. Okay, that is how networking works inside AWS. Now, to understand VPC better, we need to know some important concepts. The first one is subnet. A subnet is a smaller section inside a VPC. AWS mainly provide two types of subnet. The first one is public subnet. Okay. Resources inside this public subnet can directly access the internet. For example, web servers, load balancers, and public applications. And the second one is private subnet. Resources inside this private subnet are not directly accessible from the internet. For example, databases, internal applications, and sensitive backend services. Okay, so this separation improves security. Now, another important component is Internet Gateway. An Internet Gateway allows communication between the VPC and the Internet. Without it, resources inside the VPC cannot access the Internet. Okay, next comes route tables. Route tables decide where network traffic should go. For example, traffic to the internet, traffic inside the VPC, or traffic to another network. So, AWS uses route tables to control traffic flow. Now, let's talk about security groups. Security groups act as a virtual firewalls at the instance level. That means they control which traffic is allowed into EC2 instances. For example, allow HTTP traffic on port 80, allow SSS access on port 22, or block unwanted traffic. And another security layer is network ACL. Unlike security groups, network ACL works at the subnet level. That means it supports both allow and deny rules. So in AWS, security groups works at instance level, network ACL works at subnet level. Okay, now let's talk about some additional important concepts. The first one is elastic IP. Elastic IP is a static public IP address that can be attached to AWS resources. Okay, next is NAT Gateway. Suppose resources inside a private subnet need internet access for updates or downloads. We use NAT Gateway for that. Okay, it allows outbound internet access while still keeping the resources private. Okay, another important concept is VPC endpoints. VPC endpoints allow resources inside a VPC to securely access AWS services without using the public internet. Okay, and this flow logs helps us to monitor and capture network traffic information for troubleshooting and network security analysis. Now, here is a very common interview question. That is, what is the difference between public and private subnet? The answer is very simple. That is, a public subnet allows direct internet access and private subnet does not allow direct internet access. Okay, this is a very important interview question. So, if I explain Amazon VPC in one single line, Amazon VPC help us to build a secure, isolated, and fully controlled private network inside AWS. Okay. Alright everyone, that's all for today's video. In the next video of this AWS daily series, we'll learn another important AWS service. Okay, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep learning and have a great day.